Okay, so I'll start again. Okay, so the session today will be all about a very beginner-friendly session for DevOps, how to like deploy your ML models and how to monitor the stuff. So I'll go through a very basic walkthrough to how to like create a basic ML model, how to like create a Flask server, and how to deploy using Jenkins. Okay. So before moving forward towards like how to deploy, let's start with a very basic term. What is DevOps in general for our beginner audience? So, what is DevOps? So, first of all, I'll explain you what we'll be going through the complete session today. So, first of all, what is DevOps? Why we need it? How it affects our CI/CD pipeline or the CI/CD workflow. I'll explain what is CI/CD also. Thereafter, I'll explain what is ML Ops. It's like a very specialized field inside the DevOps. So I'll explain what is ML Ops. Thereafter, have a very small demo for how to set up your pipeline in Jenkins, and I'll also explain you some data monitoring tools such as Datadog. Okay, so first of all is what is DevOps? Okay, in the very initial days, what was used to happen is there were two different teams, one a development teams and one operational team, which is development teams just write the source code for you, and the operation team just deploy the system for you. But the problem was it was taking so much time in the continuous or the frequency of releases. Like in initial days, there was a frequency of 1 or 2 deployments per 3 to 4 months. Okay, but this is not an ideal case. Suppose we have a bug and we need it fixed quickly, but we can't wait for like 3 to 4 months for the next deployment because we have two different teams. So this problem is solved by DevOps. So what DevOps is doing, it's like integrating your development team and your operational team and making a very fluent or the flow, very clean flow for your development and making that to the production server. So, how to? I'll explain some steps that are involved in DevOps. So, in dev side, what do? You write a clean code, you test it, you build it, and pass it to the operational section. Same happens here. You write the code, build it, and test it. You pass it to the operation, the DevOps part. Okay, and you deploy the system there. There are various ways to deploy and test on the server side also, or the production side also. I'll explain in the like upcoming slides. Okay, and the one of the major portion that I feel for the DevOps or the operational part is uh, the presence of monitoring, because you can write a good code, you might have written a very best code in the world, but next thing even deployed the system and it's working fine, but sometimes it crashes and you don't know why it is crashing. So you have to find the root cause for this, and how you do that is basically by monitoring, which I'll explain in the further slides using some softwares like Datadog. Okay, so, how it has affected our CI/CD? What is CI/CD actually? So, CI/CD, continuous integration and development. So, what we are talking here about is you have created some components or you have created some system. You are testing that system on your side and then deploying that system to the audience. Delivering, you are delivering the system to the audience. So that's the complete flow of the CI/CD. Okay, so what you are doing, it's very similar to like DevOps. Basically, you are building the system and then you're delivering to the audience. So how the DevOps has helped it? Basically, it has increased the speed, as I said previously. Initially, the frequency of releases or the deployment were like 3 to 4 months, a single release, or maybe two. But now it has been increased to, in many companies, like 10 to 15 days, we have one release. So that's like quite fast in comparison to the previous release frequency. Okay, it has basically make our system more efficient and scalable. How it is making our system scalable and efficient is because we are testing the complete integration flow throughout in a very short period of time. Means we are testing more and more in comparison to previous methods. So that's how it's creating more our system more efficient and scalable. Okay. The scalability, feedback loop, continuous improvement, and all the stuff. What it means is you are working very closely now to the your DevOps or the operational team now. So what it means is initially the teams used to have some communication between them, but not as this much. So it really what it does is there was not very frequent communication between those two teams. But now what it has happened is since the introduction of DevOps, what it is doing now is we are actually having a continuous feedback loop. It means if something goes wrong on the operational team side, it can coordinate with the same report or the bugs or the monitoring report with the development team, and development team can change that or apply that feedback at a very much faster pace in comparison to the previous methods. Okay, we have transparency, obviously, because that now teams are like working on a very close knit network, so we have a very close transparency in comparison to previously. Okay, before moving forward with the Jenkins and all that stuff, I'll explain you what is like before moving to the setup of Jenkins. I'll explain you what is MLOps. You might have heard about this term before. So what is MLOps? Actually, it's I'll according to me or how I explain it, it's like the subset of DevOps. Okay, you might have to learn, or it's like an intersection. I'll say, intersection is a better word. You might have to learn the practices of DevOps, like how to create your pipelines, how to create your monitoring systems, and all. But additional to the practices of DevOps, you might have to learn also some technologies that are related to machine learning. Like you are a machine learning engineer with a knowledge of DevOps. That's how ML ops engineer or ML ops field was like originated. So if I am a ML ops engineer, what should I have to learn? Basically, I have to be familiar with the very popular frameworks like PyTorch, TensorFlow, Caffe, or these other frameworks that I should be familiar with. Also, I should be familiar with the practices of DevOps, so that I could learn, or I could make my model frequently released to the public, and I also have to monitor its testing suits. So this is like the part. This is the field of MLOps. It's like very similar to DevOps, but with the knowledge of machine learning also. So now, moving forward, I'll be explaining how to set up my pipelines. So that I prefer is like Jenkins. It's like a very good CI/CD configuration tool, or the tool for writing pipelines. It is very versatile. You can write the pipelines for various systems. It could be like ML system, or it could be like the software system for you. So it is very versatile, and it works really fine, well with various tools and the stuff. It has a great community support. Okay, so what Jenkins does is basically implement the CI/CD flow. Next thing is we can write our testing or the deployment configuration of the flow. Next thing, it can also be used to set up monitoring. Okay, we can add the agents of Datadog into the Jenkins, and that's how it works. Okay, so now it's the time for demo, or how basically how it works. So for making the things simple for you, what I have done is I've created a sample project on my GitHub repo. It's called DevOps example. Okay, uh, just a second. Yes. So this is the project that I have created for anyone to like clone and run on your system. So let me explain a bit about the project. Let me explain bit about the project, then we can move forward how to set up your pipeline. I have actually written it and explain it like what to what. Okay, it's a very basic dummy ML model project which is served on a Flask server. So let me show you. Okay, this is a very simple basic Flask server application which loads a dummy model. So for making it easier for you to understand, I've created mm, a dummy model. What it does is it plots your point on a line that has a slope. The property has 2 into data plus zero point 0.5. So what it does is multiply your data, what have you given to it, and by 2, and it adds zero point 0.5. So first of all, let me run the Flask server for you. Okay, Flask run. Okay, so I've started the Flask server here. So let me show you the very like uh, just a second. So this is the URL. I've created the route for slash predict, and I get the arguments for data, and it passes or the predict the model by the dummy model. And so what here it is doing is, so just give us a JSON in return, like 25 into 2 adds to 0 0.5, so it gives 50.5. That's a very basic dummy model. I also could write some test. These are some model tests that I have written. Basically, what it does is it predicts. It's assert the check for prediction. Its types, and if model is not null. Okay, so let me run the test also for you. So all the three tests are passing. So this is a very simple example. Okay, I'm not like followed much of the best practices that should be followed in the while writing the Flask server. So bear with it. You can clone this repo from my GitHub repo, DevOps example. So now start completing this all. Now we can move to Jenkins pipeline. Okay, I created a very basic, simple Jenkins pipeline here. So what it is doing, basically, let me make you familiar with the Jenkins pipeline structure. What it is doing is like it start with a pipeline, and it's have a groovy syntax. You could call it a groovy syntax. We have the presence of like curly braces and all, so we call it groovy syntax. And so we start with the pipeline. We define its agents. Okay, let me explain you how the structure of the Jenkins work. Basically, there are some presence of agents. What are the agents in Jenkins? It's basically your environment where your code will be running on. Okay, there are some built-in nodes or the agents for you. There is a way you can create your own agents also. I'll explain that also in the like few minutes. Thereafter, you can have your set up your triggers. Trigger, what trigger is doing? Basically, you can start your Jenkins pipeline whenever something happens. That something happens can be decided by you. I've decided I've decided my Jenkins pipeline to run whenever there is a change on the GitHub repo. Okay, so and it checks the GitHub repo every minute. Okay, it's like overkill, but you can set up it like 5 minutes or even 1 hour. I've set up for 1 minute. It checks my GitHub repo and see if there are changes in the GitHub repo, and it runs this pipeline. Okay, they are the stages. They are the stages in the Jenkins pipeline. There are the stages in the Jenkins pipeline, and it goes step by step. So what I have done is first I have written a build stage. What build stage is doing? It is installing all the requirements that are present in requirements.txt file. Thereafter, it exporting the path. It is adding the path of this home/Jenkins slash local bin, because there are some modules that are installed in this path, which is not generally not present in the Jenkins agent. Okay, so I'm adding the export part there. Thereafter, I'm running the stage for test, which a very simple example. I am just running the pytest command. Thereafter, I'm running the server. Okay, the very basic stuff here. So now let me introduce you to the Jenkins, like how the Jenkins UI is there. Okay, just a second. Okay, so here's the Jenkins UI. There are some few simple steps that you have to follow to install Jenkins. There are some recommended methods. I have installed the Jenkins using Docker. Okay, there's like image for Docker for Jenkins. You can like follow the steps that are present on the Jenkins website. What you have to do is basically create some network, and there is an image for the Jenkins, and you can start with that. Okay, you can go to the Jenkins on local and installing and doc. Okay, you can follow the guidelines or the like complete guide for this. And this is the very simple step. You just have to copy paste. This is the stuff that you can follow to install Jenkins. So I've already installed the Jenkins on my system. So, okay, let's start. First of all, that I prefer to do is, let me make you familiar with the Jenkins UI first. Jenkins works on the job system or the pipeline system. So you can add your items there. You can manage your history. You can have your basically Jenkins work on the Jenkins is a very strong pipeline based tool. So plugins based tool. So it's mostly based on the plugins that are maintained by the community. So I'll say that you go to the available plugins there inside the Jenkins and install the Docker, Docker, Docker plugins. I've already installed here in the Docker in the installed plugins. You can see it's like Docker API, Docker common plugins, Docker pipeline, and Docker plugin. So these are the some plugins that you have to install before moving forward in the Jenkins. Try to install the Docker plugins. It will be available for you under available plugins section. There will be a plugin named Docker. Okay, you can install that. Next thing, moving forward, you can manage your nodes, agents, and clouds. So, as previously I've told you about, like Jenkins work on the environment-based system that we generally call nodes or the agents. So you can even manage that also. Generally, Jenkins provide you a built-in node, which is a Linux-based system. Okay, you can use that one also. But if you have some specific requirements that I have, such as like the Python, I should have my Python already installed on my environment. So you have to check for that. I'll be not using this built-in module. I've created my own nodes or the cloud-based agent for this. How you can do that? After installing your Docker plugins or Docker plugins in Jenkins, you can create your own cloud systems. How you do that? Name your cloud, whatever name you want. I named it Docker. Thereafter, there is something called, just let me show you. Okay, let me show you. There's an Alpine socket image. You can use that. I've used that as a proxy container. So you can have your communication link through Jenkins to that Alpine socket. I use Alpine socket. There are some many more images, but I prefer Alpine socket when communicating as a proxy container with the Jenkins. You can use the Alpine socket. Okay. Uh, okay. Here. Now this is the most important part for you creating the Docker agent now. I've created the Docker agent for Python, which will be having the very basic setup for the Jenkins. So what it does, you just name your labels. Labels means Jenkins finds your agent or the node, especially by your labels. It's actually kind of a name for the Jenkins to find. Okay, so I've named it Docker agent Python, and you can name it anything else. But I've named the label and then name same. So thereafter you specify a Docker image. Okay. So what this Docker image is? It's a image built on the base Jenkins image and have some additional requirements according to you. So what this image is that I've used as a Docker image here? It is a baseline Jenkins image which I've installed Python and like pip additionally, so I can like run my system Flask or all of that on the system. So thereafter specifying the Docker image, you can specify instance capacity. uh, for the demo, I have mentioned it as two because sometimes the system do not work or the crashes. It creates the many instances of that agent. You will be having so many agents running on your Jenkins, which you do not want generally. So I've created the instance capacity as two. Thereafter, you specify a root remote file system root. Generally, or most of the time, it is home/Jenkins. Okay. After specifying that, you can save your agent. Now you have saved your agent. Now we can move forward to the like most important part. Now, now you can start creating your pipeline. So you have to set up, or you have to give your name. You have to give the name for your Jenkins pipeline. There is a freestyle project which will not talk about this today. Will be like more focusing on pipeline, but you can choose pipeline and freestyle projects after reading through the Jenkins. But today I'll be like using pipeline. Just give your name, choose your type. I choose the pipeline today, and we can start like creating our pipeline. So there are two methods that you can specify your pipeline script here only, or you can extract or like fetch the pipeline script from your remote repo. So here we call it pipeline script from SCM. Okay, so what SCM is doing, it's fetching the requirements from the my GitHub repo or complete GitHub repo, and also find the Jenkins file, and then run the complete task and job. So you specify your SCM. In my case, it's Git. Okay. I have to specify my URL. Just let me. Okay. This is the repo that I'll be using, or even you can like clone it. So you can just copy its like path and paste that into the repo URL. So what it will do is fetch the complete code and the Jenkins file, and then it will be ready for you to execute it, for the Jenkins to execute it. uh, Specify the branch name, because as I mentioned before is I'm checking for all the commits or the changes every minute. So here you specify where the commits will be, like where we'll be monitoring our commits. So I'll be monitoring my commits on the main branch. Okay. Thereafter, you have got everything up. The Jenkins file, usually in the most of cases, the Jenkins file name will be like same. So I'll be moving forward with the default. But if you, in case you want to change the name of your Jenkins file, or you have some multiple Jenkins file, you can specify that here. Okay, I've saved that, saved this thing, and now even I can wait for I can even push my code here by making some changes, or through Jenkins like admin I can even like start like build using the admin privileges. So here you can see. Okay. I think my system is offline. Let me see. Let me see. Just a second. So it's showing my Python agent is offline. Just a second. Okay, fine, fine. Okay, it's starting. Okay. Okay, actually, it's trying to pull the image from the uh, uh, from the Docker Hub, so it may take some time. I think it's taking some time. Sometimes there's problem with Jenkins. Let me see again. Okay, just a second. Okay. Actually, the agent started and like they went to sleep. Okay, now okay, agent is connected and started, so we can try again. Okay, so as you can see now, it has started building, and it will take some of the time because it will set up the agent and uh, it will install all the pip requirements, and it will test the system using PyTest. Thereafter, it will run the server. So it is the very same now, as you may run the system, as you may run the script on your local system. It will run as same as using the Jenkins pipeline. We have already set up the proxy server there, which is running on the port number, which is already running on the port number 2376. Okay, so after finishing up of all this stuff like installing, testing, and installing, testing, and running, you can access your Flask server on the very same route as you might have used here. Just let me show. So, as you can access this URL now here as predict 25, and you get the answer. You can get the same answer when you have your pipeline running for the port number 2356. Okay, You will it will work as same. It will take some time. So moving forward, it will take time, some time. So but it will work the same because it's in the build phase now. So we can start by working, or I can start explaining you about. You have your Jenkins pipeline running. You have set up your complete system. But thing is, how you may know that what's going on in the container, or if you may know what's going on the container, you may not know like how it's crashing, why it is crashing, what are the reports or the logs that are need to be generated, or how to read, how you monitor the complete system. So there are some tools that are present in the online open source community. There's some names are like Datadog, Prometheus, and all. So for the just let me show you. Okay. I'll show you the Datadog. Okay, this is the tool that I personally uses sometime. This is a tool that monitors your complete system. Basically, it can manage your ML model deployment. I have not set up any like log files or the monitoring network for the my project right now for the ML model, but you can use, if you have like set up a logging system correctly for your any system software, or it can be deployed ML model. You can use your Datadog. What it does, it provides a support for many things like log management. It provides a support for network management, real-time monitoring, and security monitoring, networking, and all. So this is a software that you can use. Basically, it easily connects with Jenkins as a Datadog agent. As I have created the Datadog for, I have created the agent for Docker. You can create this very similar one. You can create the very similar one with. Let me show you. There are some plugins as you may install. Like I've installed the plugin as I've installed the plugin for Docker. There's similar plugins for the Datadog. There are some plugins for Prometheus and stuff. So you can install the plugins to the plugin dashboard in the Jenkins, and you will find a next option other than Docker as Datadog. Okay, you can start use the Datadog configuration, and thereafter it works the very same. You create your agents, you create your baseline Docker image and all that stuff, and it will work the very same. And but other than that, like we have just built test and running phase, you can also set up a monitoring phase. Okay, so you can write a stage for monitoring here, and here, and you can just like have your monitoring logs dumped on a specific Docker volume, so you can have manage that later on. So now, just a second. So as you will go through the Datadog documentation, you will find how to install the agent. You will go to the very same walkthrough as I've installed the agent for Docker. The very same way will be installing the agent for Datadog. As I've not like created the log management or the log monitoring for my Flask server, it will not give anything uh, for the logs. But you can use this Datadog management log management tool if you want. If you have a system that relies heavily on monitoring, it works the very same with the agent and all that stuff. Okay, so summing up all the session and all the stuff is, we created a dummy model, as you can see here, which gives nothing. It works the same for the any n complex model, but we have used a very simple dummy model which just outputs two times your data plus zero point 0.5. We created a Flask server which runs as simple as this, okay, which can be accessed on your port number 500 for development. Thereafter, after we set up all the stuff on a local system, we wrote a Jenkins pipeline. Okay, we wrote a Jenkins pipeline here. Just a second. We wrote a Jenkins pipeline here, which uses a Docker agent for Python that we created. It triggers Jenkins pipeline triggers every minute when someone commits or push the changes to our main branch. Thereafter, it initiates some stages that are required for our project, that are like you install the requirements. Thereafter, you test the pipeline and you run the Flask server. Okay, after all using all this stuff, we also discuss something about we go through a basics of how to create our own agents in Jenkins for Docker. We install the Docker plugins in Jenkins. Thereafter, we set up some Docker agent templates. How you set up that? Basically, we specify the baseline Jenkins image for Python. Thereafter, we name or label our Jenkins agent. Thereafter, we specify instance capacity, routes, and all. There we have our Jenkins agent ready, which runs every time, which creates environment for your which creates environment for your project, and it runs or builds the complete system, and which you can access as you may access on your local system. Okay, so summing up all this, we have like gone through the very basics of what is DevOps to writing Jenkins pipeline, and also I made a very small I explained very give a small introduction to Datadog also, which is a data management or sorry log management tool, and it helps you create basically complete report for your system. We have not set up so much of the monitoring here, so I'm not used that here. But yes, you can use Datadog. It works the very same with as we have created Docker agent. You can create Datadog agents. Okay, so so thank you everyone. You can start like Q&A now if you want.
Yeah, thanks, Kushwant, for your presentation. Right now, I think there is no other questions. There were a few of the links.
Yes,
Uh,
I'll provide all the
few of the
links.
links they shared. I've already shared that links. But thank you so much for your time. And if there is any further questions, you can also join our Slack channel and then ask and then gets connected to the question. Thank you so much for your session.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you. See you guys.